role of Indian judiciary in environmental protection with reference to the other case laws. So let's go to the introduction of this topic. In recent years, there has been a sustained focus on the role played by the higher judiciary in devising and monitoring the implementation of measures for pollution control and as well as protection of environment, conservation of forests, wildlife protection, protecting the water sources and everything. Many of these judicial interventions have been triggered by the persistence, incoherence, like in policy making, as well as lack of capacity building among the executive agencies. First, if we go through the environmental aspect thing, the protection of environment was not important in the post-independence era of India because of need of industrial development and political disturbances. Like post the independence, the main concern was to like set up markets, industries, to make new jobs for citizens and etc. And however, after the Bhopal gas tragedy, uh, the environmental protection have become a priority after this incident, especially in the area of environmental law. After 1986, when first act related to the environmental protection was passed, people showed some concern about it. The main purpose of the act was to implement the decisions of United Nations Conference of Human Environments. So, uh, let's go to the constitutional aspects of environmental law. As you see in these boxes, in the Indian Constitution, it was the first time when responsibility of protection, like protection of environment, imposed upon the states through Constitution. It is to the 42nd Amendment Act 1976. Article 48A of Indian Constitution states like the state shall endeavor to protect and improve the environment to safeguard the forest and wildlife of the country. And the third thing is the amendment also inserted part 4, that is the fundamental duty of constitution, in the article 51 clause G, 51A clause G. It shall be duty of every citizen of India to protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lakes, and wildlife, to have compassion of living creature. The last one is in Sachdanand Pandey versus State of West Bengal. The Supreme Court observed, whenever a problem of ecology is brought before the court is bound to bear in mind Article 48A and Article 51A clause G. So, like everyone knows, there are five doctrines which the judiciary has given, like using in the environmental law. Like we can say some remarkable principles, and doctrines which are propounded by the Indian judiciary. The first one is public trust doctrine. The public trust doctrine primarily rests on the principle that certain resources like air, water, sea, and forests have great importance to people as a whole, that it would be wholly unjustified to make them subject to a private ownership. In case of MC Mehta versus Kamalnath and others, the public trust doctrine, as discussed by the court in this judgment, is a part of the law of the land. It's somewhat in detail, like according to the Supreme Court, the public trust doctrine primarily rests on the principle that certain resources, like as I mentioned before, great importance is given to those resources. So let's go to the next principle. It is the doctrine of sustainable development. The World Commission on Environment and Development, in its report prominently known as Brundtland Report, named after the chairman of Commission of Ms. G.H. Brundtland, highlights the concept of sustainable development. As per that report, sustainable development signifies development that meets the needs of present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. There is a need for the courts to strike a balance between development and environment. In Value Citizen Welfare Forum versus Union of India, the Supreme Court opined that the traditional concept of development and ecology are opposed to each other, which is no longer acceptable, and the sustainable development is a balancing concept between ecology and development. The next principle is polluter pays principle. In this principle, like it can be said as with one quotation, like if anyone intentionally spoils the water of another, let him not only pay damages but purify the stream or cistern which contains the water. It was said by Plato. uh, Polluter pays principle has become a very popular concept lately. If you make a mess, it's your duty to clean it up. This is the fundamental basis of this slogan. It should be mentioned that in environmental law, the polluter pays principle does not allude to the fault. Instead, it supports a remedial methodology which is concerned with repairing natural harm. In this rule, like in an international environmental law, where the polluting party pays for the harm or damage done is to the natural environment. In case of MC Mehta versus Union of India, the petition was filed under Article 32 of Constitution, seeking closure of a factory engaged in manufacturing of hazardous products. While this case was pending, oleum gas leaking out from the factory injured several persons. The significance of this case lies in its formulation of general principle of liability of industries engaged in hazardous and inherently dangerous activity. The next one is the precautionary principle. The Supreme Court of India, like it gave its judgment as in Vellore Citizens Forum case and developed the following three components of precautionary principle. Environmental measures must anticipate, prevent, and attack the causes of environmental degradation. Lack of scientific certainty should not be used as a reason for the postponing measures. Onus of proof is on the actor to show that his action isn't benign. These are the three important like aspect concepts of precautionary principle. In case of Vijayanagar Education Trust versus Karnataka State Pollution Control Board, the Karnataka High Court accepted that precautionary doctrine is now part and parcel of the constitutional mandate for the protection and improvement of environment. The court referred to Naidu cases, which laid down the burden to prove the benign nature of the project is on the developer if it is not found that they are uncertain and non-negligible risk. Once again, the three concepts which to be remembered in precautionary principle are environmental measures must anticipate, prevent, and attack the causes of environmental degradation. Lack of scientific certainty should not be used as a reason for postponing measures. Onus of proof is on the actor to show what his action is benign. These are the three important concepts of precautionary principle. So let's go to the chronology of environmental legislations. So at what time and what legislations have been made in India. If you see in 1974, the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act was made, which is regarding water resources. In 1977, the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution (CESS) Act was made. In 1980, the Forest Conservation Act was made. It's regarding forests. In 1981, the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act was made. It's regarding air pollution. And in 1986, the main legislation which we are talking about, the Environment Protection Act was made. In 1991, the Public Liability Insurance Act 1991, and in 2002, the Biological Diversity Act was made. So let's go to the main thing, the Indian judiciary's role in development of environmental jurisprudence. To explain Indian judiciary role, I've chosen 5 methods, like 5 steps to make it clear for you. The first one is the Stockholm Conference on Human Environment 1972 has further contributed in strengthening the environmental law regime in India. Basically, as I mentioned before, the 42nd Amendment of the Amendment Act, and this what we'll say, this is the basic legislation, like based on the Stockholm Conference only, the importance for environmental legislation has been increased. And the second point is, under the constitutional scheme, the legal status of Article 51 and 48A, enabling in nature and not legally binding per se. However, such provisions have often been interpreted by the Indian courts as legally binding. And the third point is, in asbestos industries case, the Supreme Court extensively quoted many international laws, namely ILO Asbestos Convention 1986, Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948, and International Convention of Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights 1966. And the fourth aspect is, in this case, like in the before case, the court dealt the issues relating to occupational health hazards of workers working in asbestos industries. The court held that the right to health of such workers is a fundamental right under Article 21 and issued detailed directions to the authorities. Here, the Article 21 is also included in it. And in the fifth point is, in Calcutta, like in Calcutta wetland case, the Calcutta court stated that India, being party to the Ramsar Convention on Wetland 1971, is bound to promote conservation of wetlands. These are the, like, what would we say, like five basic steps and five basic initial and important steps regarding environmental jurisprudence in India. So let's go to the National Green Tribunal. Firstly, the National Green Tribunal was made, like it became like it came into enforcement through a National Green Tribunal Act, which was enacted on October 2010. It is a specialized body set up under National Green Tribunal Act 2010 for effective and expeditious disposal of cases relating to environmental protection and conservation of forests and other resources. With the establishment of National Green Tribunal, India became the third country in the world to set up specialized environmental tribunal, only after Australia and New Zealand, and it is the first developing country to do so. The National Green Tribunal is mandated to make disposal of application or appeals finally within 6 months of filing of the same. The NGT has 5 places of sittings. New Delhi is the principal place of sitting, and Bhopal, Pune, Kolkata, and Chennai are the other 4. The main point you have to remember here is the third thing. NGT is mandated to make disposal of applications or appeals finally within 6 months of filing of the same. Some of the important landmark judgments of National Green Tribunal are, I took 6 landmark judgments. In 2012, POSCO, a steel maker company, signed MOU with Odisha government to set up steel project. National Green Tribunal suspended order, and this was considered a radical step in favor of local communities and forests. In 2012, Almitra H. Patel versus Union of India case, National Green Tribunal gave judgment of complete prohibition on open burning of waste on land, including landfills, regarded as the single biggest landmark case dealing with the issue of solid waste management in India. In 2013, in Uttarakhand floods case, the Alakyananda Hydropower Co. Limited was ordered to compensate the petitioner. Here, the NGT directly relied on the principle of polluter pays, as we discussed before. In 2015, the National Green Tribunal ordered that all diesel vehicles over 10 years old will not be permitted to ply in Delhi National Capital Region. In 2017, the Art of Living Festival on Yamuna floodplain was declared violating the environmental norms. The National Green Tribunal panel imposed a penalty of Rs 5 crore. The National Green Tribunal in 2017 imposed an interim ban on plastic bags of less than 50 micron thickness in Delhi because they were causing animal deaths, clogging sewers, and harming the environment. If you see, the National Green Tribunals have been doing its role very significantly. Like, it passed judgments, like landmark judgments regarding saving the local communities and forests. So regarding waste management, solid waste management, regarding water resources, regarding principles and doctrines, as we discussed before, and like it's regarding vehicles and its pollution, and not one, but as I discussed before, like now we have discussed most of the aspects of environmental pollution. So let's conclude our topic. Thus, after analyzing the above mentioned cases, we find that Supreme Court currently extends the various legal provisions relating to protection of environment. There are recommendations that need to be considered. There is no way for law unless it is an effective and successful implementations. Public awareness is a crucial condition in it. Therefore, it is essential that there is an appropriate awareness. Like the cessation is also being upheld by Apex Tribunal in the case of MC Mehta versus Union of India. In this case, the court ordered the union government to issue instructions to state and union governments to enforce the authorities, like for condition of license on all cinemas to display no less than 2 slides messages on environment in the middle of each show. Hence, there is an urgent need to strengthen the hands of judiciary by making separate environmental courts with a professional judge to manage environment cases or criminal acts, so that the judiciary can perform its part more viably. Thank you.